Hi friends, welcome to episode 3 of our 5-part series on the positive elements of barista competitions. We've covered why you should enter barista competitions and what you'd get out of it. And in the last episode, we spoke about managing your expectations. In this episode, we're going to talk about how you get sponsors and how you get your employer on board to support you through this process. You ready? Let's do it. This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/mapperforward to find out how you can become a member today. Okay, so you want to enter a barista competition and you know that you can't afford to do it on your own and that you don't know enough to do it on your own. So you need support. And we spoke in the last episode about how expensive it is to actually get to the World Barista competition. Somewhere in the order of $100,000. And most people that get there, in fact, I've never heard of anyone that got there that didn't get sponsors or was supported by their employer financially and in other ways. So how can you go about getting the support that you need? If you are an employer listening to this, I would encourage you to take note as well. In case one of your team comes to you and says, hey, I want to compete, I need your help. And the first bit of advice that I would, or the first counsel, the way that I would counsel anybody that is approached with this question or is approaching somebody with this question, I would say to you, create a pitch. And what I mean by that is answer some very key questions. At Mapper Forward, in all the business coaching that we do, we focus it around one question. What problem is this going to solve? And so have that as the center of your pitch. What problem does my competition solve for our business? Or what problem does me competing solve for your brand when you sponsor me? And so perhaps it could be that you are basing your competition story around something to do with alternative milks. Finding sponsors who are aligned with that value and can see a really clear understanding around that might be worthwhile considering. But the pitch is really important, particularly if you're approaching your employer. And the reason is because when I mentioned in the last episode that competition is very expensive, it's not just very expensive financially. It's very expensive in all the resources that you're going to need. Time being the most expensive of all of them. So the time that is going to be required from you, from your coach, from your team, the people who are going to support you in this process is excessive. So much so that it will take away from their time with their families. It will take away from their time in the business. And so if you are approaching your employer and saying to them, I want you to support me when I enter the regionals, going to them, answering the question, this is what problem this solves for you, could be an easy way of making your case as to why they should get on board with being your partner in your endeavors. When you're putting this pitch together, it's important to understand that ROI, return on investment, should be front and center of your reasoning. And so not only should what you do solve a problem, it should also create a return on investment for everybody who is going to be a part of your team. Whether that be your employer, whether it be your coach, whether it be the people who turn up and pretend to judge for you as you're practicing your routine, whether it's your sponsors, your ROI is going to be pivotal to convincing people that they should support you. And you being able to go to someone and say, hey, look, I need a coach. And this is the reasons. This is the reasons that I have decided to approach you about being a coach. The problem that it solves for you is X, Y, and Z. And the return on investment that I can give you is either I can pay you for your time, I can do X, Y, and Z. These are rational, professional ways to approach the way that you'll engage somebody who wants to be a part of your team. Here's the reason why I think this is so important. Going through this process of creating this pitch, or asking the barista that's approached you, if you are a cafe owner, to go through the process of creating this pitch is valuable because it's a kind of business plan. Remember, we were saying that entering competition should be viewed as a kind of your first pop-up. This pitch forms as your first endeavor into creating a business plan. You are able to create and see the path ahead of how you want to compete. How are you going to achieve the objectives that you need to achieve? Do you know what budget will be required? Creating this plan will teach you that. Creating this pitch will teach you that. Do you know what kinds of coffees you want to use? Do you know what you want to talk about at the competition? Creating this pitch will be a really valuable endeavor into foreseeing your success. And I'm a big believer in visualizing the path while you create the plan. And it's the planning process that is the kind of visualization that you can bank on. Not the, I'm just going to see it and believe it, rah-rah positive bullshit. The planning phase that you will go into when you create this pitch will help people see more clearly and more quickly why they should invest their money, their time, and their additional resources and network into conspiring towards your success. If you can nail that, I believe that's the kind of new generation of competitors that then become the next generation of successful cafe and roastery owners in our industry. Call me crazy, but it's just the way that I see it. So I hope you found that helpful. We've got 2 more episodes to go, and who would have thought that I would have so much to say on why you should compete in barista competitions? But here we go. See you in the next episode, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.